having so much stock left over on the market and things are just holding on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As well as like a lot of new things coming on. Hey Chris, how's it going?
Yeah, good. So, mate, let's just get straight into it this week.
Yeah, so I've got some residential news.
Yeah, sweet. Kick us off.
Yeah, so the Real Estate Institute released the housing market stats for May. So 6,300 homes sold, which is an improvement on the same time last year. But if you looked at Auckland, it's actually at similar counts to the same time last year at that kind of lower level.
Yeah.
And prices overall for New Zealand and most regions have been moving down for now the third month consecutively. So kind of hard to pick the trend. We're seeing kind of like more sideways movement. We've been talking about the high stock market probably pushing down, I guess, downward pressure on prices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was something that came through our agency, so our broker surveys over the past, maybe particularly last quarter, where there was a bit of weakness that they were perceiving coming through the market.
Yeah, and I think that just comes with having so much stock left over on the market and things are just holding on for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
As well as like a lot of new things coming on.
Yeah, but no, real interesting in terms of that trend, like hard to pick at the moment. Yeah, be cool if they just started going like cranking up.
Yeah.
That'd be quite fun. So Sam, next up, I've actually got some commercial news this week. So we had quite a big thing happen in Wellington with the opening of the Bank of New Zealand's new headquarters down there. Okay. So this is BNZ Place. Quick history, if you're kind of not into the zone on that, is 2019 they transacted this building for kind of like a new build, developed by Newcrest. And 15 stories, it's basically an entire city block in terms of like 3 streets around it. And super pretty building, really nice glazing, energy efficiency, heaps of wellness features and that sort of stuff. So
awesome.
I thought that was quite exciting because I was actually personally involved in the deal back in 2019.
It's cool to see it come to life.
Yeah, and just such a cool building, and I think everything about it's really tasteful. So
nice.
That's the commercial news for this week.
Awesome. Next up, we've got our poll results from last week.
Yeah. So what went down, Sam?
What went down? So we got a good response. So thanks for everyone who contributed to the poll. So the question was, as a reminder, there's a high number of New Zealand citizens migrating to Australia. Do we think this is a major cause of the increased number of homes for sale? And the results were 70% said no, not a major cause, and 30% said yes. So a bit of a mix, but leaning towards that probably not a major cause.
Yep.
And kind of a few things that came through is they think that people who are migrating tend to not own properties or tend to be renting.
So it was like a perception around them being younger or something?
Yeah, or like less connected, I guess, to here if they're like picking up and moving.
That kind of makes sense, right? Because if you didn't, like I assume if you didn't have kids, you're younger, maybe you're not a homeowner, it's a lot easier to go like, actually I'm going to move country. Whereas like, I couldn't imagine how much drama there would be if you had house, kids, pets, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I think another thing that came through for what people thought that it might be is those high interest rates and kind of cost of living is a reason.
That's real interesting, and like I was looking at some of the comments, some really thoughtful comments, which was quite cool. There's one person talking about how they had moved to Australia, but that they felt Australia for them probably wouldn't be their permanent home. Like they'll go there for a while and then come back to New Zealand. So they said Australia does not feel like home and a place for retirement. Also had another comment this week around someone saying that they thought the net migration gain, so if you put aside the kind of movement to Australia, the overall gain of people coming through from places like India, Philippines and that sort of stuff, give them a couple of years and they're all going to be firing up into like first home buyer mode. Yeah,
so I think a bit of that like delay on what we're seeing in migration stats versus what we're seeing in the actual sales in housing.
Yeah, and you wonder if like this is kind of setting the scene for the next cycle where you've got high interest rate environment at the moment and then you've got this migration that's going to probably have a lagged effect on the housing market. So are we going to get into a situation in maybe 3 years time where interest rates are back down at like normal levels, and then you've also got this
people
tranche of buyers. So yeah, it could be exciting.
One to watch. Yeah. So next up we've got our sales snapshot, and this week our theme is mixed use, so couple commercial property sales. Did you want to go first?
Mate, I'm gonna go first. So it's quite interesting. There's a lot of transactions that refer to things like mixed use, quite often with the zoning, right?
Yeah.
The one that I honed in on was actually this like old little cute property in Nelson Central. So 113 Hardy Street, Central City apartment and retail. It's like 290 square meters on 324 square meter site. It's got retail and an apartment, and it dates back to about 1880. And the thing that I found quite cute about this one was it's like your old school mixed use.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone talks like new school and like all these big developments in there,
Yeah.
but yeah, as of the last, like 50 years ago, this is what we were sort of looking at. And I also thought this property here is screaming for like a nice white paint job. Just
Personal choice. I kind of liked it. It kind of stands out on the street.
Yeah, but orange. Yeah, and so this one sold for $850,000, and that was transacted by Dennis Christian and Daniel Reed from Bayleys Nelson.
Cool.
Sam, what have you got?
Yeah, I have something actually kind of similar. I've got 30 Sydney Street in Lower Hutt, warehouse with apartment. It's a 422 square metre mixed use premises. So there's ground floor warehousing, offices, and amenities, and 2-bedroom apartment and deck above. And I quite like this one. They had an image of like the veggie garden that they've got
That's
going on in the
cute.
back. Yeah,
Yeah.
so quite nice, and a nice deck area. So like it's actually a nice place to live as well as work. So
Yeah.
yeah, pretty cool. This one was marketed by Paul Cudby, Oliver Harrigan, and Ethan Harrigan from Bayleys Wellington, and sold for 1.43 million.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool, and it's quite cute seeing stuff over time, because I guess if you go modern mixed use, we're looking at these larger buildings,
Yeah.
With like apartments of all
Retail,
sorts. Yeah, but like the old school stuff's quite interesting.
Yeah, no, quite cool, and cool to see them like transacting.
Sweet. And so next up, Sam, we're going offshore. Mate, what have you got in international
Yeah,
news?
so I was having a look at the latest Knight Frank research, and the team in Australia released some leading indicators for that are impacting property markets. So this kind of outlined just key economic and financial metrics that they see having a wide impact on the market in the next while. So a couple of the key ones were major economies starting to cut their interest rates, which we kind of touched on last week. Yeah. Secondly is that GDP data is kind of easing into like the positive zone in Australia and like just in New Zealand. So that was also released recently as well. So that was 0.2% quarterly growth.
Slightly up.
Yep, just getting there, but I guess hopefully on that upward trajectory.
Yeah.
And the third point was labour markets remaining strong, so unemployment sitting around that 4% is kind of like a good indicator, good signal of people being able to be in the position to buy, I guess.
Yeah, there's some good positivity coming in offshore, right? Like through the some of these interest rate moves and things like that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, hopefully that just gets some activity going.
Yeah.
That should be cool. Sweet. And then so Sam, property of the week, right? Mate, do you want to kick off first? Or?
Yeah, so I have quite a cool one, I think. It's 136 St. Hill Street in Whanganui. Heritage House, historic gem. It's about 2,000 square metres of 1914 brick building. It's a pretty highly sought after venue for weddings, events and conferences, but it's also got fully leased office tenancies and a couple luxury apartments that are currently used for Airbnb. Yeah, so I thought it was a pretty cool, unique property. So this one is currently being marketed by Amy Rowan, Jess Butters and John Bartley from the Bayleys Whanganui team.
Yeah, it's cool. Interesting on that one. It's got some vague similarities, I think, in design to the Home Alone house, which is also on market, or has been on market just recently overseas, and I think it sold for $5.25 million US dollars in somewhere in Illinois.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a random little fact there. And then, for me, property of the week, so I've got 4 Stoney Creek Lane, Kindies Bush in Christchurch. I like this one because it looks real cool. So cutting edge on the fringe, 4 bedrooms, 3 baths on 1,500 square metres, designed by acclaimed designer Barry Connor. The house itself is 390 square metres, a blend of precast concrete, colour steel, Eastband and brick. And if you want to learn more about this one, contact Raj Barner or Steve Ellis from Bayleys, Vendleton.
Cool.
Yeah, sweet.
Property.
Yeah, with that said, we will wrap it up here, Sam.
We'll wrap it up here. Awesome.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks very much. See ya.